Good morning. Before we begin the Gemara, in honor of Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of Shvat, I thought we'd do something interesting here related to that. So we have here in front of us is a letter the Rebbe wrote in Tafshin Yud Zayin, Tevis Tafshin Yud Zayin. When is that? That's winter of 66 or 67, depending when the new year was. Imagine it's 67. Tevis is probably already after January. Sorry?
51 years.
Yeah. And as you'll see, there was addressing Tu B'Shvat in this letter. So we'll read and translate the letter literally, and then I'll offer something that I think to expand the letter a little bit beyond its literal meaning to see what we can come with. So you see in the middle of the page, the letter starts there. Baruch Hashem, Vav Tevis, Tavshin Zayin, the 6th of Tevis, 1967, 5717, Brooklyn. Avasav Chassid, Ish Yelakim, Naim V'Nailo, Esep Techat Sibbo, Marino Rav B'Shmir, Zalman, Shiyichya, Hamachuna, Dr. Yitzchaki. So that's who it's being addressed to a person with a list of titles, who's known as Shneur Zalman, referred to as Dr. Yitzchaki. No idea who this fellow is. Shalom Ubracha, greetings and blessings. Having received your letter dated the 2nd of Tevis, Boy Koisev, in which you write, Asher Kava Zman Hachnasa Sefer Torah, in which you write that you established or you've resolved the date upon which you will inaugurate the Torah. I guess there's a Torah being written, and it's going to be inaugurated, the basic Knesset, into the synagogue on the 15th of Shvat. So they decided to make a celebration for concluding and inaugurating the Torah on the 15th of Shvat. Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanos, which is the new year for the trees. Of course, why does a tree need New Year's? So the basic halachic reason for that is because one is required to give 10% of one's produce, and one cannot just give 10% at any random time. One has to give 10% of that year's crop. So if you have to have it sometime during the year, which marks anything before this date, it's last year's crop, anything after this date, it's New Year's crop, and that's the basic reason why it's called Rosh Hashanah, New Year's for the tree. It's basic halachic marker for when the new year starts with respect to giving 10% of your crop. Okay, so 15th Shvat is the Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanos, and this is when they're establishing their Siyum Sefer Torah. Rebbe continues, and in a separate package, Nishtach l'chvoidoi, I sent to you, to the addressee, Chaveres, I sent you a pamphlet, Nimsa, in which you can find Michtav Chak Muchadmor, which you can find a letter from my father-in-law, the Rebbe of blessed memory, with respect to the inauguration of Sefer Torah. The previous Rebbe wrote a letter. It has some of the customs and other such things. So the Rebbe included that in some separate package in honor of the inauguration. And no doubt you'll receive it in due time. Now, here the Rebbe comes to a lesson from Tu B'Shvat. Because our sages tell us, we defer merit to a meritorious day. So in this case, the merit here being the conclusion and inauguration of the Torah, and you've deferred it to the 15th of Shvat, which is a day that's meritorious. So you've combined merits, so to speak, and this is not an uncommon thing, where you take some special occasion, you'll make it happen on a special day. If you do a Piskam Baal Shem Tov, and we know that which the Baal Shem Tov teaches, that from everything or matter, one should learn and derive a lesson in a service to Hashem. This means to say that he should learn a lesson in the fulfillment of his creation. Shahu, what's the fulfillment of his creation? What was the fulfillment of the purpose of creation? Kedvar Mishnah, as the Mishnah says, at the end of Tractate Kedushin. The Mishnah there says, two different versions of the Mishnah. One version is, I was created to serve my Maker. Another version is, I was not created for any other purpose than to serve my Creator. Either way, the Mishnah is declaring that a person is created to serve his Maker, and therefore, the Baal Shem Tov teaches one should learn something from everything. So it means that one should learn something in his purpose for creation, that is, to serve Hashem. And therefore, we might derive some hint, some allusion, some lesson also from the above mentioned, namely from Tu B'Shvat. Masim, and we'll make this lesson in consort, the Piskam Rebbe Zachin Levracha, in concert with the statement of our sages, Asher Adam, that a person, Nikra Olam Katan, is called the microcosm. He is the miniature world. Okay? So, everything that exists in the world at large, exists within man on a smaller scale. Specifically, what am I talking about here? Says the Rebbe, the world is comprised, and therefore person is also comprised, Midalit Sugim, of four different kinds, the four different categories of creation, namely, Doimim, the inanimate, Tzameach, that which grows, Chai, that which lives, animals, Medaber, that which can communicate, the human. So the world is comprised of these four categories: inanimate, that which grows, plantation, animals, and humans. So likewise, a person in the microcosm also has these four things. Let's explain those to this. And likewise, in one's service of one man's service of God, Laboda, to his maker, to his creator, he also has these four categories. So as one progresses in his service of Hashem, he goes through these four categories: inanimate, that which grows, the animal, and the human. And he goes from strength to strength, from one level to the next. So now let's identify these four levels in the service of Hashem, beginning with the inanimate, and then ending with the human level. All within the human being's evolution or development in a service of Hashem. And he starts off in the manner of compared to the inanimate. This means to say, he is only a recipient. The inanimate object cannot do anything on its own other than that which is done to him. So a person begins his service of Hashem as a recipient. He doesn't have anything. Without any contribution on his end. He's just a recipient. But generally speaking, this is his infancy and a child who cannot contribute to anything, conversation, to his growth, to nothing. He's like an inanimate object. He only gets that which he's given. But from being an inanimate object, one elevates that which grows. So that which grows can't move around yet, but it's growing. Right? It's still stuck in its place, but it's growing. So it still relies on its surroundings, still relies on its parents, let's say. I'm a little bit elaborating here, but it doesn't say as clearly, but he's still relying on the surroundings, but there's some growth. And where's that growth? One wheat stalk, Matzmichan, can give growth to many wheat stalks, right? You use the seeds of a wheat stalk and you can plant many more. And from one seed of a fruit, you can produce another tree which has many more fruit. So there's growth here already, as opposed to just the inanimate, which is a recipient. Here, that which grows already can contribute in that it can produce something, can produce more fruit. This means to say, that's something that he receives. He's still on the receiving end because he's a tree, he's stuck in one place, or he's a fruit, or he's something that's planted. So he's stuck in one place, but he can receive. Then he learns, and whatever he learns, he can consider it, think about what he's learning, not just like a recipient. He's actually developing it on his own. And works with it, to its length, to its breadth, to its depth. And he uses that which he is given to self-development to the most as possible. So here he's producing. So a child just receives. You tell him, restores the information. Develops a little bit more. Now he can take that information, think about it, develop it. How can it enhance my growth? How can it make me better? This person is developing. Now, Misugzef from this category.
What is that second category?
This is the second category. The first category is just a recipient, can't even develop it.
Can't develop it.
Just, you tell him.
Totally dependent.
Yeah, even like a young child, you tell him, Kametz Aleph Ah, that you take an Aleph and you put it on top of a Kametz and you say Ah, so he remembers, Aleph, Kametz Aleph Ah. But just retaining information. Then as a child gets older, you start telling him that, there's lessons to be learned from this and there's lessons to be learned from that. So he starts to think about and learn about how to self-control, how to this, and that, kind of developing and using the ideas he's learning to think about them. And this level can go for quite a while. A person is still on the receiving end, but at least has the ability to develop that which they are learning and grow from it, even if they aren't forging their own path and learning yet. But they are at least growing from that which they are being taught. Now, Misugzeh, from this category, the person elevates to the next level. The Meshech Hazman. Now here the Rebbe adds some lines about what's required to develop from to the next level. between the previous two levels, from going from an inanimate to a tree, going from just a recipient to someone who can use that which they're receiving to grow, the Rebbe doesn't say much in terms of what you have to do to develop, because it kind of happens naturally. You start off just receiving information, but as you develop, you automatically start using the information you're taught to self-develop. But now to get to the next level, that takes work. From this category, you develop the meshech hazman over time, va'idei avoda, and through work. Develop to this next level takes work. B'yigias nefesh, work of the soul, the mind, the heart. V'yigias basar, work of the flesh. You got to schwitz a little bit. You got to sweat for this next level to develop the next level. L'sug hachai, to the element, to the level of the animal. So what's the animal? This means to say the animal can move around now, develops his own path. To go from someone who's a recipient and uses that which they are taught to develop, and then to get to the point where you forge your own path, that takes serious work. Start forging your own path. Namely, he overpowers his own nature to just sit around in one place, but actually overpowers that and starts to move. If their nature was no good, they have to overcome that. And so too, to overcome his surroundings, even if his surroundings are good, but just to get out of that and not to be so dependent on the surroundings, to be able to forge your own path, or to overcome the Merachas Avos means like literally means that which you inherited from your parents. That is to say, to break out of the mold of that which you were given in childhood, to kind of forge your own path. Like Abraham, who left his. Yeah. So he goes from just a recipient to being able to use that which is, so that's the inanimate, just a recipient. And from there he goes to that which grows. That means to say he's still on the receiving end because he can't move around. He's just a plant. But at least he can use that which he's given to grow, to develop, but he still hasn't forged his own path. And then from there, with lots of work, he can start to forge his own path, like the animal who can move around. He can get his own thing going, see how he discover some learning on his own. Not be so dependent on his environment and his surrounding, or even his upbringing, for that matter. Learn more than his parents or his teachers.
It's almost like an analogy would be like secondary school, and then you go to university.
Yeah, so we're going to get to that in a second. I think you're right about that.
We're not even at that level with it.
Sorry?
We're not even at that level with it.
We'll see in a second.
Shama hasn't kicked in yet.
Well, we'll see. Maybe he's a little older.
It's all the Yitzhahara.
And we're translating literally at the moment, and then at the end we'll see what we get. Now, Mashana Makaimai, he changes his location because he's moving out of his parents' home. And he's no longer connected to his surroundings. He's forging his own path, etc. But this is not the ultimate objective because he hasn't reached a human level yet. He's gone from inanimate to growing to animals. Now what's next? Now he's to develop to an even higher level. This is the category of the human, the communicator, which is Adam Bal Seichel Yuni, a man of intellectual capacity, V'loidak Seichel Hamaisi, and not just intelligence so far as it's related to how to behave. Hashayach L'nyanim Poil, which are connected to things and objects. Ashiyeshim Gam Balachayim. This also exists in animals. Animals also have intelligence in how to get things done. They have lots of intelligence in how to get their food, how to mate, how to whatever it is, how to find territory, whatever they do. Build shelters, all kinds of things. Ukumayan, like Shual Pikishimachayas, like the fox, who's the smartest of all animals. Not that it has abstract thought, but it's smart in terms of its cunning and knowing how to get its prey and whatnot. This is what our sages tell us. Like. So now that he's a human, he's got to develop beyond that. There's some merit to this to say, even in his service to his maker. He doesn't suffice with the learning that is required to know how to behave. So the animal who forges his own path, so he's going to discover his own path, but it's not in the abstract. It's all just kind of discovering what should I do, where should I be going, who am I, finding my identity. But here, now he's going beyond that. Not just to know what to do, and what not to do. But more, he develops a learning and knowledge of his creator in the abstract, just because he wants to know his maker. To develop a relationship with his maker, he needs to know his maker. And as we say, know God your Father. My father gives this example he used to give this example, my father would say, if I told you that I have a brother in Australia, you believe me, so you have faith because you trust me. Does that mean you have a relationship with him? No. If you got to know him, you would have a relationship. So if you want to have a relationship with Hashem, I can tell you Hashem exists and you believe me. That's not a relationship yet. A relationship is know your father, know God your Father. And the verse continues, then you serve him with the whole heart. So you want to serve him with the whole heart, you want to serve him with some kind of relationship, you have to get to know him in the abstract, not just knowing him, not just knowing what to do and what not to do. And that's the human capacity to be able to think beyond just what I need to do and how to survive. Abstract thought. Shekol Lusa, generally speaking, the study of the knowledge of God, Hipnimiyas HaTorah, is the internal dimension of Torah. The most basic level of Torah study is knowing what to do and what not to do. You go a little deeper and you get messages from Drush, like lessons in the service of Hashem, and then you go deeper and you discover the study of God himself, Kabbalah, or generally speaking, Pnimiyas HaTorah, the internal part of Torah. Asher b'derdeinu, in our time, Nizgalsa, this level of internal dimension of Torah, which discusses the nature of God, has been revealed and is bara and explained by Torah Chassidus in the teachings of Chassidus. So Mikol Hanal movement, all the above it's understood. Shetchilas Pu'ulas Ha'adam, the beginning of man's development. Hu Ba'aliyah is in the elevation, Misuga Domen, from the inanimate, which is the receiving, Makabel Greda, just a regular recipient, Lusuga Tzemech, that which grows. That's the first step. Right? A person's born, you're automatically a recipient. You don't have to do anything for that. The first step is to start developing and thinking about that which you are given, so that you can do some self-development. And then from there you go to the animal stage where you forge your own path, and then from there to the human stage where a person can have abstract thought beyond just forging his own path. So v'aschalazu, and this beginning, the beginning of growth, growing from just a simple recipient to that which grows and develops, chala begins or falls, but Rosh Hashanah Lilanos and Rosh Hashanah Lilanos, which is today, the 15th of Shvat. And as the verse reads, and Kia Adam is Hasada, from man is the tree of the field, the Gemara explains what that means. Mizan from this, from the Rosh Hashanah for trees, that is his first stage in development of going from being a recipient to that which can develop and self-refine based on that which they're receiving, like that which grows, like the animal, like the plantation kingdom. From there, the Rosh Hashanah Linyan Behema, he develops to the Rosh Hashanah of that matters related to animals, as explained in the Mishnah there. The Rosh Hashanah Linyan Adam, and then the Rosh Hashanah related to man, the actual Rosh Hashanah. Re'eh Mishnah Rosh Hashanah Reish Perek Aleph. See the first Mishnah of chapter Rosh Hashanah, the tractate Rosh Hashanah, where there it identifies the various different Rosh Hashanahs with respect to the various different levels of the world. Animal, Rosh Hashanah Linyan Behema, from Ma'aser Behemoth and other such things.
What for Domim though?
You don't need it for Daimim because Daimim is how you start automatically. There's no development there. Rosh Hashanah is a development. So a Daimim you start automatically. A Rosh Hashanah means you develop from Daimim, from inanimate, into a Tzemeach, to that which grows. And then another Rosh Hashanah, you develop from that which grows into an animal. And from there you develop into a human being. And all these levels we identified earlier.
Before though, there's one for the Kadashim and one for the year.
Yeah, exactly how this fits.
Yeah, unless you want to say that the sun and moon are the Domim because they don't change. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe sun and moon is like the Daimim, yeah?
Yeah, maybe.
The final and ultimate stage of all these Rosh Hashanahs is the Rosh Hashanah related to humans, which is what? Imru Lefanim Malchus, which the Gemara says that Rosh Hashanah is, that God says, say before me verses of kingship, so that I can become king over you. That is to say, the final ultimate thing is, after developing a knowledge of God, as we described earlier, which is the ultimate level, he then can accept God as his personal king, as his personal sovereign. And that's the ultimate of the development of our relationship with Hashem, where after knowing Hashem, we now accept him as our king, and that's what Rosh Hashanah is. He developed to the final stage of Rosh Hashanah. The final Rosh Hashanah. The sages say, Perek Aleph, the bracha with blessing, and they will conclude the letter with that. So, it's a nice letter, right?
Very nice.
I discovered this letter. Yeah, it's a beautiful letter. I discovered this letter when I was in Australia. I was a shliach. I finished technical yeshiva, and I was there to kind of be a mentor for the younger boys. And I discovered this letter, and I thought it was incredible. And I would share it with the boys because of that, going from level number 2 to level number 3, going from the plant to the animal to forging your own path. Because it happens, with children, right? A child's given everything that the parents give them, okay? And they start developing and start thinking. And then it gets to a point where a teenager almost feels like that the teenager feels like this innate need to stake their own ground. I have no connection. I want to leave my parents' home. I want to develop my own thing. I'm not just my parents' children. And you have to break out of the mold. And in this, there was kind of giving it, first of all, credence.
Torah.
So abandon your
Was abandon your father.
Yeah, and here there was giving actually a way in which that can be used in a healthy way. Break out, go be the animal, run away from your surroundings, run away from whatever you're brought up, and develop and forge your own relationship with Hashem. Right? There's the joke of typical American Jewish family, and the kid comes home, and he's religious. He's religious. They grew up going to synagogue, whatever, typical traditional American family, Canadian family.
Temple.
Yeah, they go to temple on every once a year, twice a year, whatever it is. And they got bar mitzvah, and the kid comes home one day and he's religious. So the mother turns to the kid and says, "Can't you rebel like a normal child? Go do some drugs or something?" Because a child has this innate need to rebel, to stake their own ground, to become their own person. And as parents, sometimes we try to preserve the old stage. When the kid's reliant on us and the kid starts to crawl around, no, we want to hold the kid, and you have to let these stages happen. Let the child grow to become his own independent person. Eventually, hopefully, develops from being an animal who just needs to stake his own ground, emotionally based, to returning to the human, which you describe the human as one who can have abstract thought. Don't be so emotional about it. Okay, so you staked your own ground. That's fine. But now start thinking about them in the abstract. What does Hashem really want? And then at that point you can always come back home. You staked your own ground. You've forged your own path. That's fine. Now let's have a human, adult-like discussion once you've already developed that stage. But it's important that a child goes through those stages. And I think the same thing is true, not just as children developing, but even as adults, as we develop in our relationship with Hashem, as we develop our understanding and relationship of Yiddishkeit. When a person starts out in their journey of connecting to Yiddishkeit, they're like a child in a sense. I don't know where to start. What do I learn? What don't I learn? What do I do? What don't I do? Whatever you're taught, okay, that's what it is. I have no idea. Then you have to develop from from there. Okay, so you're being taught things. That's fine. But now, can you work through them yourself? Can you start using them to refine oneself? No one's going to do that work for you, right? Your teacher can feed you lots of Torah and teach you all kinds of things, but that's not going to turn you in. It's not going to make you grow unless you decide to take the ideas you've been given and develop them and think about them and how to make them grow. And then the next stage, and here as I highlighted, it's the hardest stage in a way, is to now see if you can forge your own path. Don't jump the gun. Don't do it too early, but don't wait till it's too late either. It has to be done at this right time, and even then a person needs a guide to help them to find the right time to do this and how to do this. But a certain person should be able to forge their own path. Start discovering your own path in Torah study. Start learning things that you weren't taught in the class. And then maybe even challenge your teacher with something you learned outside of the class.
Or even challenge him in the class.
Or challenge him in the class too. Meaning with information that you've come from on your own. So, what you're learning is not just what you're taught. It's, of course, you're still attending the classes. I'm not suggesting that you leave the class, but start to forge and develop your own path in the service of Hashem. Discover some of your own, learn something that you haven't been taught. And then from there, eventually...
It's never too late.
It's never too late, absolutely not.
Because I started when I was in my 60s.
Starting in your 60s and Baruch Hashem, look where you've come.
60s.
It's beautiful.
So,
and then from there...
Too late.
Yeah. And then finally from there, a person can develop into not just forging their own path for the sake of forging their own path and finding out what they want to learn and what they want to know, but then to start thinking in the abstract, what is actually about the truth of Hashem Himself, and developing that kind of understanding of Hashem, and therefore developing that kind of relationship with Hashem. But all these stages are crucial and important in one's, as a child grows up and develops, and likewise the way a person develops, even as adult, developing in their service of Hashem and relationship to Hashem and Torah and Yiddishkeit.
I never told you what happened to me in the hospital. When I was in the hospital, they were wheeling me out to do a test, and two I don't know, with long coats and the white socks.
The Hasidim came to you.
Hasidim, yeah. I don't know what sect they were, but Hasidim. Refu Shalema, Refu Shalema, Refu Shalema, Refu Shalema. And I said, thank you.
That's very nice of them.
It was very nice, yeah. They were following me, actually, for I don't know, halfway down the hall.
It's very nice.
And that night, I had a dream that these two guys came back into my room. What are you doing in my room? And they said, we've come to take you up.
Oy vey.
And I said, you can't. I'm just starting. I haven't learned Chassidus yet. I haven't learned Gemara yet. I haven't learned the Torah properly yet. I need time. And they said, okay. And they went out.
Oy vey, that's quite a freaky story. Oy vey.
It was really scary.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Very scary story. Very scary dream.
Yeah.
It's a good message. It means Hashem wants you to study more Torah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's you're right. That's the answer we wanted to hear.
It was so vivid.
Yeah, no, that's a kind of dream of
Such
Nebuah,
a vivid
the third
dream.
category of dreams that they're showing you that Hashem wants to give you more time to learn more Torah.
Okay, so as we say here,
40 years.
Sorry?
Hope he gives me another
40 years.
years.
Like Rabbi Kiva, that's right. Started at 40, and then 40 years as a Talmud, then a Rebbe.
as we say here, Lipater B'Loi Klum Efsher, to get away without doing any Gemara, we can't, even though we enjoyed learning about Tu B'Shvat and this development. But still some Gemara before we finished.
Level 4, right? Where you try to know God.
I guess every
I guess it has.
it could be every learning could be done in every way, right? A person could learn just as a recipient. A person could learn using it to grow. A person can learn in that they are finding their own path, and a person could learn in the sense of just getting to know Hashem more. So I guess you can have everything in every level. Okay, let's learn some Gemara before we finish. We are Tanya. It's the second to last word on the line. The line begins with the word v'kli mataches, and all the way at the end. The last word is Rebbe, and the second to last word is Tanya. You got it? It's the second to last word on the line. You're looking for the second to last word on Chav Tes Amud Aleph, 29a, the second to last word.
The last word of which line?
Sorry?
Oh.
It's the
Second to last
ninth
word
line.
line.
As the lines become wider.
As the lines become wider.
On the count.
The ninth line.
Yeah, I got it.
You got it? Here. Next page, sorry.
Over here.
Tanya Ravi.
Tanya Rabbi. Right there. Okay. Tanya Rabbi Yosi bar Rabbi Yehuda Omer. We've learned that Rabbi Yosi bar Yehuda said, Aron shel Eish, a Aron, the ark, made out of fire, Shulchan shel Eish, and the table that was used in the temple of fire, Menorah, and the Menorah, the candelabra which we described last week at length, shel Eish, a fire, Yordim and Hashemayim, descended from heaven, V'ra Moshe, and Moshe saw it, V'asa kamoisam, and did and copied it. So in knowing how to build the utensils in the temple, specifically these three, the ark, the menorah, and the table, a fiery version of that descended from heaven, and Moshe copied. Shenemar, as the verse reads, V'ra v'asa ketav nisam, and Moshe saw and did them in their structure, as they are structured, implying that Moshe saw their structure already. Asher tamara bahar, which you saw on the mountain. So it's the same. Moshe saw the structure on the mountain and copied it, and that's what the verse is kind of implying.
So it argues before, so menorah came to the Shemayim. Here are saying this.
Yes, it's a different opinion. That's right. Earlier we said that only the menorah. That's why I think I mentioned at the end of last week's class. There's different versions as to what happened, whether he copied or he saw or it came down. But in this version, these three utensils had a fiery version of them descend from heaven. Moshe copied them. The Gemara says, if that's the case, so anytime the verse says that you copy that which you saw on the mountain, it means that a fiery version of that descended from heaven. El Mayata, if that's the case, the verse says, Mishkan, and you shall erect the tabernacle, the Mishkan, Kemishpatai, in its laws, Asher Hereis which you saw on the mountain. Hachanami, here too, perhaps you should say that it descended from heaven, because you're saying that Moshe had to erect the Mishkan as he saw on the mountain, and you are saying that whenever the verse says that he saw it on the mountain, it's a fiery vision. That's what you said with respect to the menorah, the table, and the ark. So why not the same thing with respect to the entirety of the Mishkan? So the Gemara says you're missing one word. Hacha, here, with respect to the actual Mishkan, Ksiv Kimishpata, it says in its laws. So what did Moshe see on the mountain? The laws. Right? Hashem showed him the laws of building it. But Hassam, there, with respect to the menorah, the table, and the ark, it doesn't just say that Moshe saw the laws of how to make them, but he saw the structure. Ksiv Kdav Nisam. It says he saw their structures, and thus implying that he actually saw it itself. So we'll stop over here. This is another opinion, and God willing, tomorrow we'll develop some more opinions with respect to how exactly Moshe was taught to build the various different items in the temple. And I'm opening the floor to suggestions and trying to understand what this means on a spiritual level. That Hashem is showing Moshe fiery utensils, and why specifically these three, why not the other ones, and what this all means.
Why there's two opinions as to
Why there are
the
different
shape of the menorah, right? There's the one that goes like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's something to think about also, but it's not related directly to our Gemara here. What we should be thinking about is why the menorah. Okay, the menorah clearly seems like they all agree that some vision from heaven. But this opinion says also the ark and the table. And why not the other? Why not the altars? The two altars? Why not the kiyar, the basin, the wash basin? I mean, like, what are unique about these things, and what these things all mean? Perhaps we can come with something tomorrow, God willing.
That's the fourth level of leap.
I guess the fourth level of learning where you're learning after.
Exactly
Yes.
knowing Hashem.
Yeah, go ahead.
Those items are in that holy, right? As opposed
Yeah.
to the wash basin.
Wash basin outside, but there's the
Right?
the small altar. The gold altar is also in the inner chamber, in the same chamber as the menorah.
Ah, the gold altar. Okay.
Yeah.
So what-
That's
But what's unique about these things? What are
These
unique?
three.
Yeah.
There's a connection, by the way.
We might say, just off the cuff, we might say that these three were uniquely positioned to demonstrate the presence of Hashem. The menorah, we said earlier that God doesn't need the light is there for the world to see it. The ark, of course, is where the presence of Hashem actually rested. When Hashem would communicate with Moshe Rabbeinu, divine communication came through the altar, the ark. And we just described earlier that the table with the showbread was used to the pilgrims to show them God's miracle, how it stayed fresh from week to week. So these three items were uniquely positioned, even more perhaps than some of the other items, as being demonstrating Hashem's presence amongst the Jewish people. So perhaps that's why these three, but I'm opening the floor to suggestions. All right, have a wonderful day, everybody, and happy Tu B'Shvat. So even though it's not technically a Chabad custom, I never saw it anywhere, at least to eat some of the seven kinds, but it's certainly a Jewish custom. And yesterday in the video we were watching of the Rebbe addressing children, and the Rebbe said, no doubt you fulfilled the Jewish custom to eat from some of the seven kinds. So maybe today's a good opportunity to do that, to make a shechianu, and to think about the lessons we can learn from the tree. Have a wonderful day, everybody.